Hello guys, Chris here, welcome back to another video. In this one, my friends, I'm going to be testing the Radeon RX 9070 in Ark Survival Ascended with a new Unreal Engine 5.5 update. Let's see if performance is decent now. This GPU is the Powercolor Hellhound version of the card. I am running it with the latest AMD drivers and I'm not manually overclocking it. You can see all of its specs right here in Tech Power-Ups GPU Z, and over on the left, I'm pairing it with a Ryzen 7 9800X 3D and 32GB of RAM. Let's get into it, shall we? Okay, here we are, my friends. We're starting this. What is going on? I'm hearing somebody. Oh, hello there, kind sir. All right, we got a kill already. Good stuff. Now let's go over the settings. What is this? Why is it so slow? What's happening?
Now, James,
I don't care. I don't care. Shut up.
Save me some, baby. Bob.
Bob! It is Bob! Oh my God! I've been waiting for him to shut up this entire time. I even went into the audio settings and turned off the voice something there. Yeah, at the end of the letter, it says Bob. How crazy is that? I had no idea, guys. Oh my. But let's go over the settings. All right, we're starting at 1440p, which is adequate for this GPU, of course. Let me put it on full screen as well. I'm also using FSR as the upscaler here, but it's on native, so it's still at 100% resolution scale. And it's using the Epic Settings preset, which is very intensive, of course. But I mean, this is a good 1440p GPU. It should be capable of running this game fine with 1440p epic settings, I think. You'd think, probably. And it's actually not too terrible, considering this is a UE5 title and it's Ark, you know. I was expecting way worse than this until I started moving my camera around. First of all, you can see that it's quite jittery sometimes, and that's because frame generation is enabled. And you got a ton of input lag as well, guys. Okay, so moving the camera around is really sluggish. And they don't tell you that you have frame generation enabled anywhere in the menu, as you can see. So it's the same case as the last time that I tested this game on the RTX 5090. It was much worse in terms of stuttering. This is a lot more stable right now. So good thing that they've improved something in terms of optimization. But yeah, the fact that they don't tell you that you have frame generation enabled, yet it's clearly using frame generation at the moment, is a very scummy move, my friends. It's to hide the fact that without frame generation, this GPU would not get anywhere close to 50 frames per second. I just disabled now with this console command, and these are the real FPS that this GPU can get in this game at 1440p resolution. Epic settings. Wow, right? It's below 30 FPS. No wonder the input lag was so huge with 50 FPS previously and 40s. That's because the baseline FPS is in the 20s. So yeah, guys, you might think you are getting 50 FPS, and if you can actually play with that frame generation enabled, sure, go for it. I guess it's still going to be playable on a survival game like this, but the input lag is huge, and after disabling frame generation right here, I can tell you guys, even with 20 FPS and 30 FPS, it feels quite a bit better in terms of responsiveness than 50 FPS with frame generation. So yeah, big shame right here, my friends. It's once again shady uses of frame generation to hide the performance issues, but at the very least, and I'm very impressed about this UE5, once again, Unreal Engine 5.5, and it's not stuttering. So the developers are definitely working on optimizing this game. They're working on making it a lot better. My guy is just way too small, that's what she said. No. But I made him way too small because I didn't want him to take a huge part of the screen. Like, I usually make mountains in terms of a character model, and then he takes like a third of the screen. But being this small doesn't feel quite right either. Anyway, it doesn't matter, guys. What matters is it's unplayable at 1440p native epic settings unless you, again, are fine with that frame generation being enabled with 50 FPS. But at the very least, I am happy to see that it's not stuttering as much as it did previously. Look at this. low 20s sometimes. That's pretty crazy to me. From a 9070 GPU, this shouldn't be the performance, okay? This GPU is very fast. It's close in performance to the RTX 5070. It's a little bit faster, actually, around 10%, especially this factory overclocked version, the Hellhound from Powercolor. And yeah, yet it is struggling quite a lot, as you can see. So, big shame there. Now, can we try, like, Unreal's upscaler here with 100% resolution scale? Let's see how much better or worse that is. Okay. Compared to FSR, it will be unstable if we don't restart the game, apparently. So I guess I will restart the game. Here we go. This is it. It's back with frame generation, by the way. Input lag is pretty bad once again. Let's try to disable that crap. Okay, there we go. Now without frame generation, back into the 20s and 30s. In terms of the upscaling quality here, or the anti-aliasing quality, I think FSR actually looks a little bit better than the Epic upscaler, the Unreal upscaler, whatever. It's probably TSR, actually. Yeah, this looks a little bit more noisy than FSR did, which is weird, because FSR is usually pretty noisy as well. So I think I would stick with the FSR implementation in this one, my friends, especially at 1440p resolution that we're playing at the moment. Yeah, in terms of FPS, though, I would not stick to the Epic settings, right? Like, there's absolutely no way anyone would enjoy this game like this. I guess with the frame generation, even though it has a ton of input lag, let's enable that again, this is the default. Yeah, even though it has a ton of input lag, it makes it not so bad. I prefer 50 FPS here in a game like this, survival, you know, especially playing single player, which I am playing at the moment. It will stutter probably in multiplayer because of the bases and so on from the other people. But yeah, here in single player, I would be fine with frame generation, and I would actually prefer 40-ish, high 40s, low 50s, instead of 20 to 30 all of the time, even though the input lag is crazy high. And it still has some slowdown sometimes. But yeah, I think that would be the best fit in terms of these two experiences that we've experienced so far. But none of them are great. The two of them are pretty bad, I think. And let's move on, shall we, my friends? Let's use FSR native again for 100% resolution scale. Yes, I will restart after we select the high settings preset. Let's save that. Check the video options again, if I can. Hello, okay. And FSR is still set to native, 100% resolution scale. This would sometimes change in the previous versions of the game. Whenever you played around with these presets here, it would change it here. But it's apparently fixed. So they're working on it. Thankfully, they're working on it and they're fixing a lot of things. Oh my god. Oh my god. So many dinos around us. Just die. Oh boy. Oh boy. Alright, at least I have a weapon now, guys. Oh my gosh. Imagine if I wasn't playing in my own server with my own rules, with unlimited health, basically. Yeah, that would be crazy. I just can't really play this game, honestly. I can't get into it, mostly because of the performance issues. So it's gonna take some time for me to get used to this, obviously. Anyway, we're now getting 60-ish frames per second, but remember, this is with frame generation enabled, which is enabled by default. If you don't disable it in the config files, it's always going to be enabled. And although it still feels very input laggy, alright, so turning the camera around always has a little bit of a delay. It's not as bad as it was before, nowhere near as bad as it was before, because now we're getting 60-ish frames per second. How much health do you have? Jesus. Look at all of the blood particles coming off of him. I guess that's it, right? Like the red smoke is probably supposed to be blood. Oh my god, dude. Oh, we're out of pickaxe. Oh, it's broke. Now we gotta punch it. You know what? I'm just gonna run. You might think 60 FPS is great, right? Again, but it isn't because it's 60 FPS with frame generation. So let's stop it right there. It's playable like this. It still drops into the 50s, as you can see. So in these very dense forest areas, which is 90% of the map, I guess, it's still really, really demanding. Oh my god, he's still following us. Oh, we can actually hit the water. That's very interesting. I didn't know we could do that. Okay. Anyway, let's open that console and disable the Fidelity FX frame generation, FSR FG, and we're now into the 30s. So, once again, that's a little bit of an improvement coming from Epic settings. On Epic, we were getting 20s most of the time, and this is 30s and still 20s sometimes. That's really bad, but it is an improvement nonetheless. Maybe like a 20% improvement or so in terms of FPS, maybe a little bit more than that, 30, 40% at times, which is not great. So once again, if you look at the performance with the frame generation enabled, it might look decent, but the input lag is horrible. And if you take a look at the performance without the frame generation enabled, it looks absolutely awful. Like, this is not even maximum settings anymore. The game doesn't look all that impressive to warrant 30 FPS at 1440p high settings with a card like this. We're also not running out of VRAM, obviously. We got 16 gigabytes in this GPU, so no problems there at all. Yeah, 30 FPS is just unacceptable. So they're hiding, once again, they're hiding the fact that the performance is awful by enabling frame generation by default and not telling you about it, which is super scummy, guys. It is a big shame, my friends. I am really not enjoying this, honestly speaking. What is this? There's a chest here. Wait, hello? No! Not again, Bob! Not again! Please. Please don't tell me he's gonna talk. Oh my, what happened? The game just crashed. What the hell, dude? Or the drivers, was it the AMD drivers that crashed? I guess so, driver timeout. All right, so, no, it was the game, maybe? I don't know, GPU crash dump. It's probably the driver. Both? Let's go with both. Okay, so I guess I'm gonna try to lower it down to medium settings. No, wait a second. What is this? Performance only. Lowest settings possible, I guess. No, but let's go with high settings anyways, but let's go with FSR quality instead of FSR native. So this is going to render the game at 900 and something p. It's lower than the 1080p resolution internally, but then it upscales to 1440p. Oh, we're here. It didn't even save all the progress, the insane progress that we made. Anyway, so here we're now getting 80 FPS with that frame generation enabled. Once again, so it's not like we're getting native 80 FPS with low input lag. This is super input laggy still, but it's very stable, you know. Like, I can't be too mad at the developers because they fixed the horrible stuttering from UE5. This kind of insane that the game isn't stuttering more. The Unreal Engine 5 is known for being unstable and super stuttery in games that are unoptimized, and the Ark developers seem to have fixed most of those issues, those core issues with the engine that plague so many games these days. So I'm really impressed about that, okay? But the raw performance that the game has, the raw frame rate, basically, without frame generation, is really terrible in terms of graphics performance ratio. I guess if you need to play on high settings, which do look quite a bit better than medium settings in this game, I think, from what I remember at least. I'll still try medium settings in just a little bit. But yeah, if you want high settings and 1440p resolution, which, I mean, you probably have a 1440p monitor with a GPU of this tier of performance, this isn't a bad experience, you know? Especially because it's smooth now. If it was a stutter fest, like the last time I took a look at Ark Survival Ascended, this would be unplayable. Imagine like 80 FPS average with 30 or 21% lows. It was like that. But now we get really good 1% lows, actually. So yeah, that's why I can't really be mad. I'm seeing progress here. It's good to see progress, right? So hopefully by the end of the year, maybe they can make it run with native resolution, no frame generation, 60 FPS on this GPU and high settings. But hey, I honestly thought we wouldn't even see any progress here in this video, and I am glad we're seeing it. Alright, that means that the developers are doing something. Let's go ahead and try it without the frame generation enabled. Okay, so let's use 0 on that, and without frame generation, with high settings, quality FSR, we're getting 30-ish frames per second. Again, quality FSR, high preset. Is that great? Not really, right? Especially, again, given that this GPU can deliver really good performance in pretty much all games at 1440p high settings, even on ultra settings, you know, without the need of using upscaling or frame generation. This still has a lot of input lag when you enable frame generation on top of these settings here, but at the very least, it's doable for the type of game that this is. Obviously, if you are super competitive in PvP and so on, the input lag from frame generation will definitely hinder your experience a lot, and it might make you lose some fights, you know, and you don't want that. But especially if you're playing just PvE, just chilling here in this game, it's gonna be fine. Not great by any means, but it actually is playable like this. So let's drop it down to medium settings now here at 1440p. Let's do 100% resolution scale, so native resolution right there. And I will restart the game completely to fully apply the medium settings now. Okay, here we go. This is medium settings now. First up, I'm going to disable the FSR just for a quick comparison here with the high settings without FSR. So instead of dropping into the 30s, it's going to be in the 40s more often than not, as you can see. Let's run around here for a bit as well, go into the forest area over there. That volumetric lighting would look really good if it wasn't for all of the noise. But yeah, this shot right here looks pretty nice, in my opinion. It's actually decent, and medium settings are still looking decent. But again, this is medium settings on a 9070 at 1440p native, and it's still not even reaching 50 FPS. Well, now it's reached 50 FPS, as I was saying that, obviously. Just to contradict me a little bit. What is going on? What is this? Oh, hello. What the heck? What? No, no, no. You are very loud, boys. Okay. Okay. Let's go. Let's go. Climb this hill over here. Please, buddy. Help me. Help me. Anyway, we got rid of them. Good stuff. Dropping into the 30s sometimes. It's a weird boy right here. Okay. Oh, a bear. Hello. Okay. I'm just gonna go this way. Yes? Leave me alone, buddy. Okay. Yeah, bear doesn't want to kill us. I'm too small of a meal for him, probably. But anyway, yeah, over here, things are getting really intensive. This is a really dense forest area. Lots of shadows, of course. Pretty dark as well overall, and it's dropping into the 30s very often. So in terms of average FPS, it's actually super similar to what we saw on high settings with quality FSR, but this is now native res, so a little bit better. Let's stop it there though, and let's try it with that frame generation, which is probably how most people will play this. So native resolution, 70 FPS, 80 FPS, medium settings. It's not too different from what we saw at quality FSR 1440p high settings, honestly. It feels really similar, but of course, now it's native res, so it looks quite a bit better in terms of sharpness and the noise as well. So, not too bad, and the smoothness of it is just great to see, once again. The fact that we get these FPS on medium settings with frame generation enabled is, however, very sad with a GPU like this. It feels like this game was made for hardware that will only come out in 5 years. And by the time this plays well on said future hardware, they will just release Ark Survival Ascended or something like that. Also, it's dropping into the 50s and 40s here for no reason. I don't know. GPU usage also dropped a bit in this area. I'm not sure what's happening, but now it's up into the 80s again. And 99% or 97% GPU usage. That was probably just a one-off or loading a new area or something. But yeah, that's exactly what happened with Ark Survival Evolved. When that was running well on today's hardware, current hardware, even mid-range GPUs, they released this, and this runs like crap on everything. So, oh boy, it's pretty sad, my friends. It's pretty sad. But anyways, at least it still looks good on medium settings, and you can actually enjoy it even on high settings if you want to. This game is full of beauty. If you just pause for a second and take a look at the graphics, it's pretty beautiful in my opinion. And this is medium settings, right? But again, maybe they should have dialed it down a bit more, or maybe optimize it a little bit more. I think it would be fine if they dialed down some things, maybe like Nanite or Lumen, for example, and make it run way better without the need of frame generation. But that's just me. I don't know. Hello. And there's this. This game. I mean, there's Jack, right? Actually, it is Jack. It's Jack from the past. Oh my god, I was hitting you, buddy. I'm so sorry. Damn, this vid is actually becoming pretty interesting, my friends. We saw Bob right at the beginning telling us that the game would run like crap, probably. And now we're seeing Jack. I don't think I ever saw Jack in an Ark video. This is awesome. Also, what's not awesome is this volumetric lighting. Like, what the crap is this? Holy, that is awful looking. Wow. Like, that over there looks really good. This one, what happened? Let's move on, I guess, to low settings. It still keeps some things on high, like global illumination, general shadows, foliage quality, but it should be a lot easier to run. Let's restart it, though, to make sure it fully applies. All right, so here we are. This is still with frame generation, guys, on low settings. And the low settings do look quite a bit worse, especially outside of forest or dense forest areas like this one. Okay, you will see that the lighting, for example, looks a lot worse. In terms of the experience now, input lag is still noticeable, okay, but it's definitely quite a lot better than it was before, because now we're getting 100 plus FPS, basically, and it's good for a high refresh rate experience with zero stuttering. That's the thing, that's really impressive, and I just can't be too mad about them, because they actually managed to fix the stuttering in this game in Unreal Engine. In all fairness, that's really impressive, guys, and I never thought I'd be able to say this about an Ark game. Zero stutters. Also, I'm seeing a ton of pop-in around here. So low settings have quite a ton of pop-in, guys, unfortunately. That's a little bit annoying. Also, textures will look even worse now, I guess. But hey, if you're all about performance, at least you can actually have a really fast experience at 1440p resolution, native still as well, with this GPU. So that's nice to see, at least, I guess, even though it's low settings. And this is nowhere near a low settings GPU at 1440p. Now let's see if we can finally get 60 plus FPS without that frame generation. And indeed, that seems to be what we are about to experience, guys. 60 plus here by this area. Maybe in some dense forest areas things would be a little bit more intensive. Oh my, the bugs. Hello. No, not you again. Why are you attacking me? I don't understand. Oh my god, it's so many. But hey guys, we're finally getting 60 plus FPS even inside of the forest area here with low settings. That's nice. With the global illumination still on high and the shadows as well. Pop-in is insane on shadows, but I'm fine with this experience in terms of FPS. Obviously, this should be the FPS that we get natively at 1440p high settings, not low settings, but it is what it is, my friends. The fact that it's stable at least means it's now playable for me, this game, because it was completely horrible and stuttery and unplayable before. So now I can actually get some hours into Ark if I have some free time to put some hours into Ark, because I don't think I will. Let's check out 4K resolution next, all right? With the low settings, because nothing above low settings will be good anyways at 4K with this. That's quite a bit sharper. However, the water still looks a bit off because of the noise, and we're getting 30s. Okay, so we're getting 30s on low settings at 4K resolution with this GPU. It looks quite a lot better, though. Yeah, than 1440p in this monitor, but I'm using a 4K monitor anyways. So, of course, it will look way better on native resolution. It's a pretty crappy playable experience, but it's playable nonetheless. And sometimes it can even go up into the 40s, as you can see. So I guess worst case scenario, it will drop to 30 FPS. Not too terrible at 4K resolution, honestly. Let's check it out with some frame generation, though. Here we go. And it bumps things up from 30 FPS into the 60s and 70s. And again, I think if you are playing with a controller especially, it's going to feel alright, because the input lag is less noticeable with the controller. This is pretty impressive, actually. 80s. I was not expecting to see 80s inside of the forest area here with frame generation at 4K resolution. Seems like FG at this res is working really well with the 9070. I'm fine with this. Obviously, they still have a long way to go. The developers, if you're watching this, please optimize it better. But at the very least, it's very playable. Let's do quality FSR, though, at the 4K resolution. It still looks really pretty sharp, in my opinion. A little bit softer, of course, but sharper than 1440p native resolution, for example. And now we're getting 100 FPS with frame gen, of course, at 4K resolution. It looks good, it looks sharp, it looks detailed, even on low. And yes, I know there are console commands that you can utilize to make things a bit faster and run better, you know, and better visibility as well. But the video is already big enough as it is. If I started utilizing some console commands on and off, it would be double the size. So instead of like 30 minutes maybe, it would be an hour-long video. And what about FG disabled here? We get 50 to 60 FPS apparently. Yeah, maybe it will drop down into the high 40s, I guess, but not from that. And this is quality FSR, of course, at 4K low settings. With a little bit of an overclock of GPU, it should be able to squeeze a few more frames and get a little bit better results. But, yep. Again, it's a matter of, can you live with sub 60 FPS? If yes, disable frame generation, adjust your settings, and you're good to go. And if no, enable frame generation, have a little bit of input lag, and enjoy the game regardless, because it doesn't stutter anymore. Hi, dude! How's it going? My gosh! That thing, look at that! That's so awesome! Wow! That's amazing for a screenshot, guys. And it's low settings, once again. I feel like the low settings should look worse than this. And let's go down now to the 1080p resolution, and I think I will go to native res, native FSR, high settings. I feel like this should be adequate for 1080p. Let's find out. And here we have it. Frame gen is back in action, guys. We're getting 80-ish FPS, 70s. It's right around that frame rate where I told you I'd be okay with, right? In terms of input lag, it's super noticeable, but it's doable. Let's go into a forest area with more vegetation, dropping into the 70s. Feeling a little bit input laggy, but it is what it is. We've had this experience before at 1440p with these kinds of frame rates, so you already know what to expect. It's just the difference will be the resolution, you know. If you have a 1080p monitor, go with high settings, native res, frame generation, works well. Let's go with FSR disabled, though, just to check this out without FSR for a bit. 40 FPS, down into the 30s sometimes. A little bit more stuttery right now for some reason. That's pretty weird. But yeah, guys, that's about it for this one. In the end, they really need to optimize the game and make it run better than this, because this is still a disgrace for the kind of GPU that we have here and performance tier that we got here. It's mid-range 1440p gaming GPU that works really well usually at that resolution. Ultra settings, high settings, yet it's here at 1080p drops into the 30s at high settings. So that's pretty inexcusable, honestly. But I'm really liking the fact that they fixed the terrible stuttering issues from this game and UE5. Thanks very much for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed. I'll catch you in the next one very soon. As always, love you all. Bye-bye.